The newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Senator J.V. Ejercito believes more Chinese citizens are holding local posts in the country. Ejercito said he has met before with officials who are obviously from China based on their accent and appearance. With this, he called on the COMELEC to be vigilant so we can prevent another Alice Guo from being an elected official. Ejercito made the remark amid the latest allegation that this Miss Guo is a Chinese spy whose campaign was arranged by China. Meanwhile, the Ombudsman has suspended Porac, Pampanga Mayor Jaime Capil and 10 others for letting an illegal POGO operate in their town. Aside from Capil, the Ombudsman also implemented a 6-month preventive suspension in Vice Mayor Francis Lawrence Tamayo, licensing assistant Emerald Vital, and 8 other councilors. These officials are facing gross neglect of duty for letting Lucky South 99 operate despite its alleged involvement in various crimes. The Lucky South 99 secured their business permit from Porac LGU in 2020 as a BPO company. This despite having an e-casino license from PAGCOR. Lucky South 99 was previously raided by the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission. Senatorial aspirant Camille Villar believes that political dynasties are not a problem in the country's democracy. The daughter of Senator Cynthia Villar and sister of Senator Mark Villar said that people can still choose to vote for their preferred candidate regardless of their surname. Here's an excerpt from her interview with 1PH sa Totoo Lang.
Kong, let me just ask you this question, no? Kasi, of course, the Villar name, talagang lumalabas yan when people bash or talk about itong mga political dynasties. Ano po yung inyong take po dito? Kasi marami akong nakikita na, oh, Villar na naman, lagi na Villar. It's the same names. Not just Villar po, ha? Pero syempre, the Revillas are there, Tolentinos. Kayo po, ano po yung mensahe po ninyo? Ano po yung take nyo on this? Itong political dynasty issue?
You know, that gets asked time and time and again. And you're right, everyone, all of us, natatanong kami. First and foremost, ang unang kong sinasabi dyan ay elected naman po kami, hinahalal naman po kami ng mga constituents namin and mga voters namin. Naniniwala naman ako na pag hindi maganda ang performance mo o kaya pag merong hindi nagustuhan ang tao, they are empowered to choose kung ayaw na nila sa'yo or hindi. And in fact, that's why our family, in whatever positions we have, whether it's in the private sector and in the public sector, we really work hard to make sure na nakikita nung mga kababayan namin or yung mga pinagsiservisyohan namin ang magagandang resulta. Dahil naniniwala kami that these positions have to be earned and deserved. I think they're an honor and also a tremendous responsibility that you have to be ready for. So, to the people who say na, oh, dynasty, ganyan, I always tell them na, pero pinipili naman kami ng constituency namin. They have the power and the right to remove us at any time, to not elect us, tell us they don't like us if they don't agree with us. And on the other hand, at this point, I'm very grateful for the support and the trust that is given to us by our constituencies and by the people that have elected us. So it's not something that that our family takes lightly. And of course, syempre, because our parents, yun yung kinalakihan namin eh. They are public servants. So we saw them as a very good example and it's something na gusto rin namin tularan. At tinuruan kami ng mga magulang namin na dapat magsipag at magtiyaga sa lahat ng gusto naming makamit at wag nating i-disappoint ang mga customer natin or ang ating mga constituents. Dapat magtrabaho tayo. So yun lang naman po ang ginagawa namin. And in fact, in any campaign, you know, at this point, in the coming months, magpapakilala nga po tayo. At sana, para sa mga Pilipino, mga kababayan natin, ay what we have to say and what we have done is enough. Kumbaga, we're going to convince them at sila naman ang magde-decide kung worthy tayo sa mga posisyon na meron tayo, hindi po ba? So that's what I think about dynasties. You're not anointed or you're not appointed. You're chosen by the people, and I think we should respect that.
Now for the latest on the weather, no low pressure area or tropical cyclone is expected to form in the country within the rest of the week. Cloudy skies and rains, though, are expected in several areas due to the northeasterly wind flow. That's the initial blast of amihan or winds from the northeast. Affected areas include Batanes, Apayao, and Cagayan. The rest of the country, including Metro Manila, may also expect isolated rains due to localized thunderstorms. The unemployment rate in the country dropped to a 2-month low in August. Based on the latest report of the Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, the jobless rate is now at 4%. This is lower than 4.7% in July and 4.4% in August last year. The PSA attributed this to the significant influx of women joining the labor force. The female labor force participation rate rose to 54.7% in August from 52.4% in July. Now, Jack Madrid of Business Process Association of the Philippines says the industry is growing in an impressive trajectory. Here's an excerpt from his interview on The Big Story.
Give us a broad overview of how big the IT BPM sector is in the Philippines. We took a graphic from your report. How much revenue, how many jobs are we looking at?
You know, over the past 2 decades, we've grown at a very impressive trajectory. And I'm happy to report that this year we will grow 7% in jobs. We will end 2024 with 1.82 million Filipinos employed directly by the industry and generating export revenue of $38 billion US dollars.
That's for 1 year alone.
That's for 2024.
You did say, though, that you expect more modest growth in revenues for 2025, and that's a bit scary since we know that the middle class is heavily anchored on this sector.
Not so
What gives?
scary,
Okay.
considering that we're coming off a relatively big base. We are already at 8.5% of GDP. So when you're coming from a big base, the percentage growth will definitely be more modest. But the other reason for that is that, you know, with recession globally potentially happening, there might be a more modest growth in global volume.
Okay.
But having said that, we have always outpaced global growth rates in IT BPM. For example, India grew 3.5% the past 2 years. The Philippines doubles that at 7. So I think competitively, we're still more than holding our own. In
India is
terms of
still
market
the
share.
#1 offshoring center in the
Yes,
world.
primarily because of their bigger population.
We're still #2.
A solid number 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I remember a time when Reg and I were together in a show many, many years ago. We were talking to the then head of IBPAP, and you guys were gunning to be 15% of GDP to equal OFW remittances. Whatever happened to that? Where are we at vis-a-vis OFW remittances?
Well, you know, I think...
or did we just abandon that whole...
Well, no, at least for me, I don't view the OFWs as some kind of competition.
Not really a competition, but...
I mean, they are heroes on their own right. But I'd like to focus more on the other heroes that are not as talked about as OFWs. I call them the digital Filipino workers. Call it DFWs, who have been, you know, the real pathway to the middle class for this country. Because we are all here generating as much revenue as the OFWs.
That's exactly the whole batting point of the sector, right? But you also mentioned critical threats, this skills gap we were talking about. I also read in the papers that you just met with Education Secretary Angara to talk about these skills gaps so that you guys can go hand in hand and provide. Oh, how did that conversation go? First off, thank you. I guess you donated some computers as well to the DepEd. But what did you and the secretary talk about?
We talked about 3 asks for the industry. We kept it short. Not in any order, but we talked to him about bringing back English as a medium of instruction. Because it is the language of business globally. And while we have superior communication skills, we've noticed that there has been some slippage in the quality of English communication, comprehension, and that also affects critical thinking.
Cignal TV shows made it to the final list in several categories at the 46th Catholic Mass Media Awards. Woman in Action is nominated for Best News Magazine. Julius and Tintin para sa Pamilyang Pilipino for Best Talk Show and Public Affairs Program. Feast Story for Best TV Special. Kitty Explorer for Best Children and Youth Program. And Freedom Boat for Best Special Event Coverage. And for radio, Sa Totoo Lang is among the finalists for Best News Feature. Sana Lord for Best Drama Program. And Ted Filon and DJ Chacha for Best News Magazine, Public Service, and News Commentary. And those are the top stories of the hour. I'm Pauline Verzosa. We are One News.